Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Happy to be with you here. We did take Tuesday off for the 4th of July and everything, but we're happy to be with you today. And we're also happy to announce a couple of new sponsors that are coming on board. We'll get to that in a minute, which is exciting. Especially for football season. Believe me, football season is going to be a lot of fun around here. I'm a firm believer in that. Today, one of the great Gators of all time, Shayne is going to join us, of course, in the argument for greatest punter in the history of the program. And then Coach Spurrier, I think, will be with us Tuesday for Wednesday, the Wednesday show. And then we're going to start doing some stuff here where we're trying to do it where I can do the show from my house. So we're going to try to do that next Thursday and get it right up. And it's complicated. Hopefully by the time we get to August 1st, it's going to be a smooth running machine and we are going to be killing it. And we appreciate all of our sponsors for being a part of it. They just have been, they make this thing go. I mean, it wouldn't be here without you. And we appreciate them. We appreciate all the people who listen, who watch and listen and keep bringing it back and talking about it. Guys talk to me about it every day, about the podcast. I do also want to publicly thank Mike Martin, my good friend, who is also been a friend of mine for a long time. But he and his wife Michelle and some other friends of ours all got together at the lake out there at Santa Fe Lake, Little Santa Fe. And just had a wonderful 4th of July. It was exactly what I wanted. I needed to kind of chill a little bit and came back home. And when we got back home, all of our neighbors were doing a little block party, so we did that. It was just a fun 4th of July, and I'm glad I got some time off. Got right back into it today. Wrote a thing for Gators Wire about, what did I write today? It was the 12... records I want to see get broken by Florida this year. So it's kind of interesting. You have to think about it a little bit. And I got a couple more coming, getting ready to work on those as well. All right, let us get to the starting five. And today, for the first time, the starting five is brought to you by the Process Service of Gainesville. So the first time I mentioned their name, I said it wrong. The Process Service of Gainesville. And we appreciate Scott Hart, who's a listener to this show. He loves the show. He wanted to be involved. And, he's got a great business going there that he kind of just recently started going. So good for him, and we will do everything we can to help him. We'll mention our other sponsor a little bit later in the show, but the starting five is now brought to you by the Process Service of Gainesville and Scott Hart. Number one, let's talk about the big story of the week, which is all anybody wants to talk to me about. And I'm like, I told you this was coming. This is no big surprise. But they saw that 400. When it says 400 million, if it said 40 million, nobody would bat an eye. If it said 100 million, but 400 million, everybody goes, wait a minute. Why don't they just tear it down and build a new stadium? Well, I don't think they physically can do that. And I'll ask Scott Strickland about it. I think we may have him on next week. He's out of the country right now, conveniently, right after they announced that they're going to add this big addition to the stadium. Look, here's the deal. And this is the way everybody is looking at things, not just the University of Florida. You've got to make it a destination place. It's not enough, as I've said a million times, that the Gators are playing, especially if you're having a bad year or you've had a couple of bad years, 6-7. And look, Alabama is going to be doing a lot of the same things. Georgia, everybody's going to be doing a lot of the same things. They're creating television shows is what they're doing. The money is coming from, obviously, you want to put 80,000 people in that stadium, but 90,000 to make people uncomfortable and they don't show up for some of the games because it's so uncomfortable. That's not what you want anymore. You want to put whatever the comfort level is into that stadium and then sell the package to TV is where you're going to make your money. I think it was the Mountain West gives $6 million a year in TV revenue. $6 million. That's tip money for the SEC. So the bottom line is, this is the way this generation of athletic directors sees things. I don't disagree with it. I understand. Like last year was the first year in, I think, 8 years that the attendance did not drop in college football. Well, the reason was people could finally go to games. They'd come out of COVID. They were a year removed from the most serious effects of COVID. They could go, they could sit next to each other, they could spit tobacco in their cup, and everything. Well, what all great Gator fans do. But, look, the bottom line is that was the biggest reason for the attendance rate. I'll be curious to see if it goes up or down this year, but it's eventually going to go down because people are going to have smaller stadiums. And the University of Florida is going to be one of those. We've talked about it a million times. And Scott's talked about it. You've got to make it a place you want to go. That's what they did with Condren, with the baseball stadium. At baseball stadium, in fact, my wife did not like the baseball stadium when it first opened. She was like, what's the big deal? Why it's been on? Now, I think she may be there right now. She may just be sitting in the stands. She loves that stadium so much. You have to kind of get used to a new stadium. And in the case of Florida, I think it's going to be like a new stadium. But it is going to be what it is going to be. $400 million seems like a lot of money. Well, yeah, Georgia's spending $500 million, and they got 2 new helicopters. Yeah. So it's just the way it is. It's the way it goes. But that gets me to number 2, which is when you do this stadium improvement, I think you're out of excuses for not being able to win. Look, you've got the facilities that you asked for, that coaches have asked for, starting with Urban, really. I think Urban's the first guy that really asked hard for improvement of facilities. And then obviously with Muschamp, with McElwain, with Zook did ask for a little bit, but I don't think he got much. Anyway, the bottom line is the facilities at Florida are as good as anybody. You're going to add this stuff to your stadium, give people a reason to come. You've got everything you could possibly want. There are no more excuses for not winning more games. And that is what I'm sure Billy Napier loves, that he's got all the tools now. Now he's got to win. Now, I'm not saying today. I'm not saying the first game. I'm not saying this season, which we've already said is year 1 for him, and last year was year 0. But he's got to win. There are no more excuses. None. There's 0. You got everything you need. Well, the NIL may be not as good as you want it to be, but you have to deal with what you have to deal with. This is what Florida is. Whatever the NIL money is what it is. It's not like you can just say, hey, let's go to the legislator. Let's go to do that. No, that's your NIL money. That's the money that your fans want to spend to have a good team. It is what it is. You can go and beg and do this, but this is what you are. And maybe as all this NIL money eventually, I hope, becomes transparent and we know exactly what everybody's making, maybe we get to a point where we just go, you know what? Maybe Florida's not a blue blood. Maybe they just aren't. Maybe there's the schools that want to put the money into it. Doesn't mean they can't knock off Alabama or Georgia or anybody like that on a 1-game schedule, but maybe they're not. And that's what we're going to find out over the next couple of years. Is Florida really a blue blood? I'm not even talking about winning and losing. I'm talking about, are they willing to keep putting the money up there? The question I always get is, well, why don't you just spend all that money on players? Well, it doesn't work that way. They're different. They come out of different pools. And we'll see how this goes. Now, again, Florida has done nothing but say, we're going to bid this out. We want to see who wants to be interested in designing this. And so it's not like it's going to be a while. Maybe I might not live to see it. I think Zach will live to see it, though, this new stadium when they get it ready. Number 3 on the process service of Gainesville, starting 5. Got that right, I think. That's pretty good. I can't believe SEC Media Days is almost around the corner. Like I was saying, we have nothing going on now. Good, baseball's over. It was so great. SEC Media Days is just a couple weeks away, and it got me thinking, how low will they go with the Gators? And the second thing I asked was, does it matter? Well, neither thing matters. I mean, Saban used to always say, well, you guys get it wrong every year. And then we got it right every year because we picked him. But all we're doing is giving our guesses like everybody, like the AP poll, like the coaches poll. We're just guessing. I don't know how you can sit there and say, you guys, I don't understand. You guys want to pick these polls every year and you're always wrong. Well, so are you. You're the coaches who vote on the coaches poll. Oh, we don't really vote. We let the SIDs vote. Well, then don't call it the coaches poll. Call it the SIDs poll. I'm going off on a different tangent here. But I will be curious to see where Florida is picked in the East. Last year, divisions, I would venture to say this might be the low. I think it will be the lowest Florida's ever been picked in the SEC East, because the divisions didn't come into play till '92, and certainly I don't think. Maybe I'm going to go look it up. I'm going to have this answer for you next week. Okay, I'm going to look up and see if Florida's ever been picked lower than where I think they're going to be picked, which is 5th. That would mean Georgia. Georgia will be 1, Tennessee will be 2. Those are the easy picks. And then you get to whether you pick Kentucky, how much you believe in South Carolina. Obviously Vandy's going to be down there in the bottom as always. Missouri's one of those that you're not 100% sure how they're going to do this year, but because have a lot of respect for Florida right now. Anyway, I think I'm going to go with 5th. I think there'll be some guys who go, look, it's still Florida. I'm going to at least pick them 4th, but we'll see. And number 4 on the process service of Gainesville, starting 5. There is an amazing amount of optimism around this program right now. That when I talk to a lot of people, it seems to be way more positive than it was, say, a couple months ago. And I think it's because the further you get away from the spring game, the more positive it is. And the more recruits you get, the more recruiting you do, the better it goes. But, I just don't, it's hard to kind of get a grip on what this program is where they're going. I think they're going the right way, but I do sense a little optimism, and this is what gets dangerous in the summer when we have this talking season. Is, first of all, people are they love Georgia now. There's nothing to dissect about Georgia because their schedule's so easy. So nobody's going to pick anybody but Georgia, except there'll be one guy that picks South Carolina at the media days. He just does that every year. So it's just kind of like with Florida, I think they may be. My bottom line is I think they're going to be better than people think they're going to be. I think they won't be a 5.5 on the Vegas Richter scale, which is their over-under. I think they'll go over that. But it's going to come down to, we were just talking about this off the air, come down to a few games like Missouri, like South Carolina, like Kentucky, who Florida has no business losing to Kentucky. I mean, they're better than Kentucky. They have better players than Kentucky, and they did last year, and they screwed the game up. So those are the kind of games you've got to win. If you don't win at LSU, you don't beat Georgia, maybe you don't win at Utah, and you go 8-4, okay? That's going to be considered a step in the right direction, and I think that's the way everybody looks at it. And I think they feel like they can. So number 5 on our starting 5, we do want to salute our 2 new sponsors that we got over the week, I guess during the week. Days make no sense right now. They make no sense. Because with Karen being out there in Omaha, and then they came back on a Tuesday, which felt like a Sunday, and then the 4th of July was on a Tuesday, which felt like a Sunday. And so it's hard to kind of figure out what the days are. But I want to say thank you to our new sponsors, but thank you to all of our sponsors. But our new sponsors, the Process Service of Gainesville, Scott Hart, new business he's got going there. And if you can do anything to help him out in that way, great. And the Swamp Restaurant is on board now, and they are going to be giving us the plays of the week and plays of the weekend, and they'll also give us the drink of the weekend at the Swamp Restaurant. It's good that I have them as a sponsor because my daughter spends all of our money there. So, but she loves that place, and we love going to a game there. I do know this, we got to get a break. We'll come back. Shayne Edge will join us right after we take a break here on another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios, and we are joined now on our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line by the great Shayne Edge, former Florida punter, former Pittsburgh Steelers punter, former, what else have you got in your titles?
Right now I'm I'm a pickleball champion. That's all I do nowadays, play pickleball.
That's it? Pickleball?
Play a little pickleball, a little golf.
Well, I remember when that was just called paddle tennis, and I used to play it as well. But my knees did not. It was amazing to me when I saw Shayne's iPhone. I didn't know you had iPhones up in Lake City. When did you get those?
Well, we just got them about 2 years ago, Pat. It's crazy. I actually had to change it because it had my son's name on it. It said Brock's iPhone. I was like, why is his name on my phone? So I had to change it before you saw that.
Well, that's what's interesting because we both have kids that are similar ages, and my daughter, everything I have on my phone's music is my daughter's songs, and it says Kelsey this, Kelsey that, and I'm like, well, I'm Pat. I'm not Kelsey. And you go to them and they go, you're kind of stuck with it like this, and it's the way it is.
Right, they can't change it. I've asked them several times to change mine. I've got the iPad. It says Brock's iPad or Megan's iPad. I can't do anything right. I can't have anything on my own.
So what's Megan doing now? Is she out of school? Is she?
She's at Florida. Actually, I don't know what they do, what kind of schooling she does. She's at Cal, at the university there, but they are going to Croatia here shortly. They went to Alaska about a month ago. So she's a world traveler. She's all over the place. She's a sophomore this year.
Wow, sophomore already. That's amazing. And what is Brock doing now?
Brock actually got a job working with a federated insurance company he's up in Minnesota right now.
Really?
Finishing up his training or whatever, but he got his territory is going to be Valdosta, which is a little bit closer to home, which we like.
Right. I was going to say, if he's living in Minnesota, he's probably going, hey, I'm a lot cooler than you right now, Dad. I guarantee you that, because...
well, the humidity here is just terrible. Pat, I can't walk out of the house without sweating.
I know. I mentioned that one year, I think Phil Fulmer brought Tennessee down here a day early. They brought him down on Thursday to get used to the humidity. And I was like, I sweat when I go get the paper in the morning. You can't get used to the humidity. It's impossible.
It seems like the last 2 weeks has been really, really bad for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Brock, I mean, that was kind of weird for you to be watching the College World Series. You know, of course, he was on the team just a couple of years ago and did really well, but it had to be kind of weird to watch it and think about how they could have gotten out there.
Yeah, well, I think what really hurt them is the year that the COVID hit. They were 17-1 and number one in the country. And they were doing really well. I kind of wish that season would have played out and kind of see where they went. But, you know, anytime Florida's in any kind of national championship, I'm going to watch and enjoy it. I was glad those guys, there's still some of the guys on the team when Brock was there, still there. We had a kid from Lake City playing, Tyler Shelnut.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always good to see Wyatt and then, you know, Caglione. We love to watch those guys, you know, play good. Regardless, I want Florida to do good. And then, you know, a couple of weeks before that, we had JC and the golf team win the national championship. So that was really nice. It was sweet.
I was going to see if you were going to take any credit for Tyler Shelnut. Somehow I know you probably deserve some credit for him in some way. I'm still trying to figure out how.
I've thrown several batting practice sessions when Brock and I were up there. Tyler came on out, and I throw him some balls. So, yeah, I'm taking credit for that.
Doing some sliders, you know? Yeah.
There you go. Throw a couple of curveballs, a little change up.
Well, if he was a punter for the Florida football team, you know he would be from Australia, because it seems like that. Why do you think that all of a sudden all the punters on these American college football teams are from Australia?
Well, I talked to Shayne Graham when he was there at the university a couple of years back when he was a special teams coach. I talked to him a little bit about that, and it's crazy to me that they would go out and get these guys. Now, they're a little bit older, but they've never played in a high school football game, much less a college football game. But they're teaching these guys over there to punt a football and, you know, with rugby and all that stuff, and they're very good athletes. Most of them are really good athletes. But I don't see everybody being enamored with these Australian guys. But most of the ones that have come over here, Pat, have been successful. And our guy Crenshaw, he's very good. He's doing a really good job for us.
Yeah, I think he's been really good so far. But I would like to see, and you know it's a place close to my heart. I know it's close to your heart. I would like to see Florida make something happen on special teams this year, which they haven't done in a long time.
Well, you know, when Urban, and, you know, especially Coach Spurrier, when Coach Spurrier was here, we had Zook as a special teams coordinator too, and we were always trying to block a punt, block an extra point, a kick, something. We never just sit back and let stuff happen. You know, Urban was the same way. He had a lot of special teams block punts and field goals, things like that. But I don't understand why teams don't do that, because you block a punt 9 times out of 10, you're going to win that game.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a close game against a good opponent. But, you know, a fake punt here or there, something. I guess Crawshaw, I can't think of his first name, Jeremy, he faked the punt a couple of years ago, and he had like a 29-yard run. You know, it wasn't as good as mine.
No. Nothing will ever top that.
Run. No,
That should be.
No. I'm like you. we've got to have special teams. I wouldn't mind ETN going back there and returning kicks and punts all the time.
Well, they've got him listed as at least returning kicks, and I hope he's back there as much as possible. I know that, and again, you know how it is. Coaches get a little bit concerned about putting guys back there, afraid of them getting hurt. With Spurrier, who did he put back there? Riddell and Quez. I mean, those are pretty good players.
We had Quez, right, we had Quez and Riddell, and are you telling me that, don't tell me that those guys didn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Quez returned, kicks just as good as anybody. And then Riddell, he returned the kick, I believe, in Tennessee. I think it was Tennessee maybe. But anyway, those guys.
Oh, at Auburn he did. Yeah.
Auburn, that's right, Auburn. You put those special guys back there, they're going to make something happen. And ETN is special. He's so good. He can change the game just like that.
Well, I'm just curious what your take is about how we were just talking about a little bit about this before, how everybody has Florida over under being 5.5 points or 5.5 wins, which I never thought we'd ever get to that point where Florida would be considered an under 500 team going into the season. It's got to be hard for you to live with, especially up there with all those FSU fans.
Well, you mean the FSU fans, you're right. But listen, I never thought I'd see that day either. I never thought that the over-under for Florida would be 5.5, but I think that's indicative to the schedule that we have to play. The schedule that we have to play is the toughest in the country, and nobody can argue that, okay? But I still think Billy is on the way up. Napier's got these boys playing better, and they're going to, I think they're going to be a 7, maybe an 8-win team. Rose-colored glasses, you call it whatever you want, but I just think that you get these guys in the swamp, it's going to be tough, and we're going to surprise a couple of teams here and there. So I think 7-8 games is doable on the way to 9, 10, 11 the next year or so. We've got to get a quarterback, Pat. Who's our quarterback going to be?
I guess it's going to be Fred Mertz. Yeah, Graham Mertz may end up proving all of us wrong, but those of us who watched him play at Wisconsin were never impressed with him. And that's what maybe Billy can work some magic with him. Maybe Billy's, the way they've changed the rules, Shayne, where the clock doesn't stop after a first down and everything. The games are going to be compressed a little bit. So maybe this is the plan. Maybe it's just to, try to win every game 24-21. Yeah, and if you win them, enough of them like that, everybody's going to say, what a great coach.
Right. Well, I think that's going to help us a lot because of the 2 running backs that we have. If each of these running backs were on a team by themselves, I think they could both be Heisman contenders. I think they're that good. I really do. If we can run the ball consistently, get a third down here or there with Pearsall, and you got to get Pearsall the ball. In my opinion, a player like that, you got to get him the ball probably, 8-10 times a game minimum. So you get those 2 running backs, Pearsall, and I'm a little biased. I love my boy Odom. You get him to catch a few balls in the flats or a touchdown here or there. Then we've got a pretty decent squad. Now, offensive line is going to be good, so I don't see why it couldn't happen.
No, and I think that the bottom line, I talked to Jeff Cardozo about this the other day on our radio show. I said, it still comes down to one thing, and that's defense, because Florida has been bad on defense for 3 years in a row. Just can't stop anybody. I don't know how they got to this point, recruiting, whatever it was, but they've just got to have a defense that can get stops every once in a while and get the ball back for the offense and maybe score. How about this? Score on an interception or a fumble recovery. Something. I know it's allowed. I looked it up in the NCAA rules. It's allowed.
Well, I think we're going to be a lot better in that department too. We have several younger guys coming in that's going to be very good. As a matter of fact, you got another Lake City kid. Jaden Robinson is going to play a little bit, I think. Hopefully he does. But the biggest thing is I think when Grantham was here, I don't want to bash Grantham too much, but third and Grantham, that started to become a thing. Right. That started to become a thing. And when you don't realize, hey, you can make a stop on third down or whatever, I just think they were so far, didn't know what they were doing, where they're supposed to be, why they're blitzing here and not over here. If we can, and I think the defense coordinator now is going to do that. He looks like he's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of passion for the game. If he can teach these guys just where to be, Pat, if they're where they're supposed to be, we're going to be just fine because we're starting to get athletes on that side of the ball.
I agree, yeah. Hey, how much can you work with kickers at Florida? Can you be like a volunteer kind of guy, or do you just kind of, if they ask you?
Sure. Hey, listen, I would love to. I would love to go out there, and I don't think it's any kind of penalty or anything like that. I would love to go out there and work with those guys. When we have I'll go down to practice once or twice, and I'll go, talk with the guys and meet with the guys, and I would love to go out there and work with those guys. And, I could get, even Judd. Judd can't move quite as good as he used to. He's getting older. I'm not, but, I can show these guys still how to do it.
Judd, you're right, I saw him the other day. He's barely moving. He's barely even to get up.
Right.
But, that would be a lot of fun. All right. It is time for us to play our game of Yes, Nowhere, maybe brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak, street dunning done the right way. So we'll give you 3 questions. You answer them yes, nowhere, maybe. Shayne Edge. Number 1, you have the lowest recorded score of any punter on Florida's football team.
Lowest reported score?
Recorded golf score.
What do you mean?
Yes. Recorded golf score.
Oh, punter? I'm going to say yes. Punter, yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else was.
Well, it wasn't Shank Roan, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Shank Roan. I was playing with Scott Dombeck the other day, and Scott was telling a Hank Roan story. And he was talking about how he was in the rough over there to the right and everything, and everybody's watching. And all of a sudden, the ball comes flying out. It's this beautiful, majestic shot. And as they look over, there's a tee spinning in the air under where Hank's ball was. So he had literally teed it up.
Okay, I got you. Well, you know what, Pat? Now that we're sitting here thinking about that, Coach Spurrier is also a quarterback, so he doesn't count.
Oh, yeah. He's had some low scores as a punter. Good punter too.
Yeah.
Did he ever give you some tips?
Punter. He's pretty good.
Did he give you tips on punting?
Pat, listen. Every once in a while, this is no lie. Coach Spurrier will come out to practice. I'm working, either pooch punt or whatever I'm doing. He'll come up there, Shayne, let me see that ball. He gets the ball, he takes it, he punts it about 35 yards, a beautiful spiral. Every time. He would do it about once or twice a year. Yeah, see there? I can still do it.
Well, the guy was a really good punter in the NFL too.
Yeah, he was pretty good. But as far as the question goes, yes, I have the lowest score.
Okay. All right. Number 2, if you wanted to, you could run for mayor and win in Lake City.
100%. Yes.
No question?
I would just have to move into the city. The reason I haven't done it yet, I'd have to move into the city limits.
Well, you know how it works in Washington. Nobody lives in the state where they run for office. You can just.
Well, that's true, Pat. Yeah, that's true. And I have been called Mr. Well Respected in Lake City. So there you go.
All right, and finally, number 3. I can't read my writing here. Number 3. If you raced Judd Davis in a 40-yard dash, you would win.
Is there a better answer than 100%? Listen, Judd would tear both hamstrings. There's no chance he would finish the race, first of all. There's zero chance I get beat by Judd Davis.
And he would try, though. He would say, I can win this race. I can win that. And he would try, and that's where the hamstrings would just pop. You'd hear it like
he would give it a shot,
thing. Pop, pop.
Right. And he would go down. We would have to carry him back to the cart because there's no way we're carrying him to the car. We might even have to take him to the hospital. Good gracious.
Yeah, I don't think we want to see that race. I mean, you would be able to do it, but, we'll have to get Judd on in a couple
don't
weeks.
want to see it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to see it because both of us will be hurting afterwards.
It's always great talking to you, Shayne, and I appreciate you coming on the show today. And we'll talk to you again when we get closer to football season. Okay.
All right, sounds good, Pat. I appreciate it. It's always fun, bud.
All right, the great Shayne Edge, one of, if not the best punter in Florida history, and of course known for one of the great plays in Florida history. Yeah, that may be a list I could do. Special teams great plays. Like, there's a lot of Quezzy on there. There'd be the Lido punt return against South Carolina. That would definitely be on there. Shayne Edge's run against Alabama. Be right up there. All right, we got to get a break. We'll come back, and we will have all of our fun stuff, including our new segment, The Swamp Restaurant does the plays of the weekend here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another duly noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. All right, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Great pleasure to be back with you. Thanks so much to Shayne Edge for joining us. Coach Spurriel, I think, is going to join us Tuesday, which will be Friday's show. And then we're doing a show Thursday. We talked about this before from my house. We're going to see if that works. And hopefully it'll be up Thursday night. Not sure of the guest yet. I've got a couple of possibilities. Brad Culpepper was going to come on, but he had to go somewhere. Greg Sankey maybe. We'll have somebody good. As you know, we have great guests here on the show, and appreciate all of them for being on there. Right now, though, it is time for the Hesser and Kipke three things. Hesser and Kipke, as you know, is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Check out all their 5-star Google reviews. I think there's 65 of them now. It's unbelievable. Or set an appointment with hklawfl.com. Or better yet, just give them a call at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke. Three things. Let's start with number one, rough times at ESPN. It is always sad when you see people getting laid off, and in this business, no matter what industry it is, it's sports journalism still, whether it's newspapers or TV or radio, and a lot of them. And Susie Colbert was obviously something that we've been hearing for a while. I was really surprised by McShay getting laid off. Steve Young, people like that. And you feel bad for all those people. I mean, there are some people on ESPN that I don't like, and unfortunately none of them got laid off. So didn't work out for me. But, you never want anybody to get laid off. And I just think there's so many people there that we know that we have on the show all the time. But I think the plan for ESPN was to take people that weren't doing a lot and were making a lot of money and who maybe were bigger names, but let's cut those people loose. Let's get down to a number we can agree on. So, hey, there should be plenty of money left for the SEC contract now, since ESPN cut all these. I mean, almost everybody they cut, I think, was making in the 7 figures. So it's a lot of money. Money I don't have. Number 2, I love this quote from Josh Allen, who said, the media have blown the Stephon Diggs thing way out of proportion. Well, that is what the cliche is for everybody to say when they have it. And it's also cliche for everybody to say the media. You know who's in the media? Not a lot of people. You know who thinks they're in the media? A lot of people. And that includes me, to be honest with you. I've got no editor. Now, I do have an editor where I write for Gators Wire. I do have an editor where I write for the UF Magazine. So I have editors. I don't have an editor here. It's just me and Zach. I can say anything I want. Pootie Tang. I can say whatever I want to say. But that doesn't make you a journalist. If you don't have an editor, you're not a journalist. But people do put out stuff and information, blogs and everything, and fan sites, and they get lumped in with all the other journalists. I heard, rare that I agree with Stephen A. Smith on something, but he said the very same thing. He said, some people are journalists and some people are just want to be journalists, and they all get lumped into the same thing. It'd be like me saying, I hate all college football players because of what Aaron Hernandez did. No, it doesn't work that way. I still get my feathers ruffled. And look, I am saying this, I am a pseudo-journalist at best. I do write for people that I do have editors. If you don't have an editor, you're not a journalist. But I have editors. Some, but not all. Anyway, that's my take on that. And finally, number 3, this San Diego State story has cracked me up. San Diego State comes out and says, we're letting the Mountain West Conference know that we want out. We're going to move to a different league, but we'd like a break on how much you want to, and we'd like some more time, and we're still not sure what league we're going to move to, and we want to kind of wait and see what they're going to make first before we. And the Mountain West Conference is going like, no, you're out. Get out of here. And then this San Diego State comes back and goes, we changed our mind. We're going to stay here. Look, turns out they didn't get enough money to make it worth our while. What a weird story that is. And now I don't know where San Diego State, who they're going to play against, what's going to happen there. This is, when we talk about the Wild Wild West, this is a perfect example of it, where nobody is really doing what's good for the conferences. Nobody is doing what's good for the conference except the commissioners. Everybody else in every conference is fighting against everybody else. Nobody is trying to make it a better conference. And it's just the way it is. We'll see where they end up. Pretty good season they had, basketball, but we'll see what happens. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 thing. Let us get to our new sponsor. We love the people at the Swamp. We love Kyle. We love Ryan, good friends of mine, big sponsors of our tournament, and we now have them on board here. And I'm going to give you the Swamp Restaurant drink of the weekend, and it is a good one. Cool and refreshing, fresh fruit sangria. Oh, my. We had some of this at our golf tournament. It was pretty good. It's on special every Saturday at the Swamp. Nothing says summer like Sangria Saturdays. So get over there and have a good time at the Swamp, which is really, it's amazing what they were able to do to keep it being the same as it always has been. I mean, it's basically the same place, and it's cool. We love it over there, and so does my daughter very much. All right, so the Swamp games of the weekend. We'll start off with Wimbledon, which is on ESPN all week. Just watch it all weekend if you're into tennis. I used to be really into tennis. I'm a big McEnroe guy. I was a big Chris Evert guy. Don't watch it very much. I've watched a little bit of it because it's Wimbledon. It is pretty cool. But if I got to go there, I think I would really like it. But I don't know if I'm going to. But anyway, it's on ESPN all weekend. The U.S. Open for women. And Rose Zhang, let me tell you what, if you watch Rose Zhang play, you're going to kind of become a women's golf fan. That's how big a deal she is. She is like the biggest, next great superstar in sports, I believe. She's an amazing player from Stanford. But that is on 3 to 9 Saturday and 3 to 9 Sunday on NBC. So it is the big story of the weekend, really, is the U.S. Women's Open. And we'll see if she can win that. Also this weekend, we have the John Deere Classic, which is a men's tournament, 3 to 6 on CBS. So those will be those games. And then, of course, we're wrapping up the first half of college baseball, of Major League Baseball, All-Star Game. So the Home Run Derby is Monday, I believe, right? Monday. That'll be on ESPN. But before that, the Braves play Tampa Bay, 7:35 Saturday on Fox. I'm not saying it's must-see TV. It's the middle of the season. It's Major League Baseball. There are no important games this time of year, okay? But I'm going to watch it because, I mean, obviously you're talking about the two best teams in Major League Baseball right now. And that'll be at 7:15 on Saturday on Fox. Also, I promise you one college football game with this every week, and we're giving you one right now, and that will be LSU FSU in Orlando. It is September 3rd. It's a Sunday. It's 7:30 on ABC. Yes, you will be watching. My question is, who do you root for? Because this LSU rivalry with Florida, because of baseball, and a little bit because of basketball, but not so much, but a little bit because of gymnastics, it's become a huge rivalry, and certainly in football it has become. Florida playing them every year, and that's going to go away, but after this year. But we all know how much you hate FSU. It goes without saying. So LSU, FSU, who you rooting for? I remember last year I was rooting for the conference. I rooted for LSU, but then they were getting beat pretty good, and I was like, it's okay too. I like seeing LSU get, and then they came back and they missed the extra point. It was a crazy game. Anyway, but LSU, FSU, that is September 3rd. We're not that far away. We're almost there. Let's get to our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week, and that is Scott Perlman. Scott Perlman is a new, he's really not a new coach for the men's tennis team. He's been there a long time as an assistant, but it was more of he was a grad assistant. No, he wasn't a grad assistant. He was a volunteer assistant, 11 years doing that, but the new coach, Adam Steinberg, has hired him. So he joins the Gators after being with the Gators for a long time. He was part of that national championship run. He was part of, I think, 3 SEC championships, a couple of tournament championships. So congratulations to Scott Perlman, who is now on the Florida staff full-time and is the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. Let's get to this, that, and the other, brought to you by our great friends at I'm blanking out, at Ballyhoo. And I'm blanking out because I was thinking about how I'm blanking out. Bill Reichert is up in Tennessee, I still think today. I think today's his last day. They're playing a big golf thing, and they wanted me to go, and I should have gone. Now I'm regretting I didn't go. But instead, I'm here. Yay. So brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, by Ironwood Golf Course, where I played 4 times in the last 5 days. Maybe I'm playing too much. And by Dar Shakow Insurance, the great folks over there at Dar Shakow. We love our sponsors. Let's get to the this. The this is, I remember like it was yesterday. They kept talking about this guy Acuna. And I'm like, when is he coming up? And there was a big stories in the papers up in Atlanta. They're going to wait. They want to. I said, he's 19. Get him up there. Let him get to work. Don't forget, the Braves sucked there for a long time. They had a bad run right between the Chipper and Acuna. That is that early in his career, I was getting too much of Acuna. You know, he wasn't running out balls. There was a lot of stuff going on with him. He was not mature. He was too young. He wasn't ready. Maybe they should have waited longer. Now, the other is he is about to do some things that nobody's ever seen in baseball. One of them is the potential to have 40 homers and 70 steals. Nobody's never done. He's already set, I think it's a record for the most runs, steals, and homers by one player at this point in the All-Star game. I like all I can get at him. Of course, when he got hurt last year, that was a big deal. When he got hurt the year before, but he has matured. He's still a little bit of a youngster, but he has grown up, and I'm a big fan of Ronald Acuna. And that is this, that, and the other. Brought to you by Ironwood, by Ballyhoo Grill, and by Darth Shakow Insurance. Let's close it up with a Pat Dooley story time. And this was what I've thought at least 5 times. And of course, Pat Dooley story time brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. At least 5 times I have thought this in the last 2 weeks. How in the world did we play a golf tournament this time of year? We must have been out of our minds. It is so hot, and it's hotter, and it's been brutal out there. I kind of had to sit out one hole the other day playing. I was so overwhelmed. But the sad thing is, I invited our relatives they live in the Rochester area, you know, Victor and up in there in New York. And they came down to play. And it literally was the hottest day of the year. And the poor things, I mean, they had towels around them and everything, and it was brutal. And the good thing about what happened to our tournament was we got a lot of rain. Like the last 3 years we were over there at Hale Plantation, Hawkstone now. And because we got so much rain, which I can't believe we didn't get it more, we decided to move to a place that would give us mornings. So while we appreciate the people over there so much, Mark is such a great guy, we're happy where we are at Ironwood. We'll see what happens with Ironwood. We'll see whether we keep going. As you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. Don't look for any announcement until January, okay, of a tournament for next year. That's maybe December. But anyway, the story is, why did we play in July? What were we thinking? But again, that was the thing. Back then you just went, hey, let's have a tournament. When do you want to have it? In July. That way the Gators are done. This is how crazy I was with Gator baseball. We had to make sure the Gators are completely done with the College World Series because they were that good during that early time, obviously. And 96 and 98 especially. So anyway, that was it. That's my story for today. And that's going to do it for today's show. Thanks to Zach for doing a great job of getting us through another show, and we appreciate Shayne Edge for joining us again. Coach Spurrier Tuesday, and we'll be back, Tuesday for Wednesday. It's a Wednesday show, but we'll tape it on Tuesday, and you know what I'm talking about. We're working on a lot of things. We're going to get everything in tip-top shape, and you guys are going to really love our August shows. I can't wait for them. Doesn't mean our July shows aren't going to be good, and we'll be back with another one Tuesday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley for Zach, saying so long from the Sunshine State.